Right. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys had a good break in between the sessions. I know today is so jam-packed. Actually, this entire week is. So I'm so glad you were able to join this session. And some of you might already be Travefy Camp certified if you've gone through the previous ones already. So glad to have you here, seeing all the numbers get filed in. But awesome. I'm going to go ahead, stop the music, and we're going to just dive right on into things. But again, thank you so much for everyone who is filing in, joining today's session. We are going to go through creating an all-inclusive proposal and itinerary. My name is Bonnie, and our co-host today is Kendra from the
Hello.
team.
Hey,
Awesome.
everybody.
Glad to have you guys here. But few housekeeping things like usual. One, again, you can get training camp certified if you attend 5 or more webinars. That way you can be rewarded with a certification if you are going through all of these sessions. We want to make sure you can have that. You can display it wherever you want. And then two, we also understand schedules can be crazy busy at this time of the year with, wave season and everything else that you're planning for the year. So if you want to watch a recording instead, that counts as well. You just have to do so before March 21st. And then, of course, don't worry, we are recording all of these sessions. You can find all of our recordings and links to the Facebook Encore sessions that we do as well on our training camp page at trainingcamp.travefy.com. And of course, if you just need any help getting to that page, we are always here to do so. Speaking about those encore sessions, today's encore session is with Stephanie. We are going through Travefy's top tips and tricks. And so we'll hopefully learn a lot of cool little hacks and tricks there. But that's at 4 p.m. Central Time. You just have to go to our Travefy page and you can tune on in. And then last of all, too, we have our happy hour trivia, which is on Thursday, really to end the week. So definitely tune in for that. First prize gets $100 with an Amazon gift card. And then we have second and third place prizes as well. But the next session that will be coming up is going to be that encore session at 4 p.m. So make sure you tune in on Travefy's Facebook page for that. And before I pass it off to Kendra, Stephanie and I will be in Q&A, so we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Apologies if we can't get to your question or we miss it. Feel free to always email us at professional@travefy.com. That way you always are guaranteed to get an answer, but we will try and answer as many as we can. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it off on over to you, Kendra. Take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie, and excited to be with everybody again. This is my third time, as I know it's the third annual one. So it's always just great to see so many users coming in and all the love that they've been sharing with us. So I am going to go ahead here. We're going to dive into the all-inclusive proposal webinar here. So hopefully my screen is starting to share right now. But before we go ahead and just dive into creating those proposals, I am just going to give a quick overview here of what we'll be touching on today. So we are going to be going through building a proposal so that you can use Travefy to create a great workflow process in creating proposals and listing a lot of great trip options for your clients to consider. And then once we create that proposal, we're going to go ahead and then turn it into an itinerary or show you how your client can turn it into an itinerary through the approval process. And then also add some additional fine-tuning information to that trip. And then the last thing I'm going to show will also be how your client can view the trip on the Trip Plans app so that while they're on their trip, they can quickly access that on their mobile device. And then last but not least, of course, we're going to open it up for any questions that come through. So hopefully, again, you can all see my screen here. So we're going to go ahead and start the session by creating a proposal. So the first thing that you do in your trip library is, of course, come over to the new trip button, which should be on the left side. And when you click on that button, what you should see are two different options here, the itinerary and then the proposal. And I always just like to open things up first to explain the difference between the two. So that way you can decide, what option is the best one for your workflow process. So both of these options, the differences between the two are going to be on the client-facing side. So with proposals, there is an approval process. So when they see a proposal, and we'll show this in a few minutes here later in the session, they will get to click approve, meaning that they give it the thumbs up if they want to move forward with the planning process. They love everything on that trip. Then once they've approved the trip, it automatically turns into an itinerary. And then the difference with the itinerary is that you can view it on the Trip Plans app. So they have that accessible information for their trip while they're on the go. So again, very simplified down version. Proposal means that they can approve the trip, see those different options and choose which one works for them. And then the itinerary is that they get to see all of those details on the app. So with that being said, now that we know the difference, we're going to jump in and create a proposal for this trip to get started. So once we click on that option, it's going to take us into the trip builder. There we go. I'm going to make sure that this is full screen. There we go. So when we see our trip builder here, this is where we add all of the content for our trips. So the first thing that I typically do when I'm creating a new trip is I come right over to the cover photo. Now, this is going to be something that you probably will need to adjust just because these are randomly selected when they're created, and it might not always have anything to do with the trip you're building. So you're going to see several different ways of how you can add the cover photo to this proposal. The first one, and the one we're going to use for right now, is searching our database, which we have thousands of royalty-free images that you can choose from. So just searching a keyword should bring up a lot of great content for you to choose from. But just so that you know that it's there, we also have the option to upload from your device so that you can use your own images and add them in here. You can also go out to a website. So think of lots of resorts, trips, cruises, have a lot of great images that you can utilize. So going out, getting the URL link, then pasting it into this field here. If those images are able to be shared, they should populate right down here. That final tab there that you see is the copy function, which should allow you to also go out to a source such as Google Images, copy that image, and then paste that into this field here. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and use our database search for this example. So we're going to go ahead here, and I've been dreaming of Greece. So we're going to go with that option, a Greece or a Greek beach, and then we're going to search. And then what you're going to see here is all of, again, those images that are related to that keyword or phrase that I just searched. And I can come in here and then select whatever image I want to use. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to edit this cover photo so that it's tailored the way that I want it to look. So I can drag and drop, kind of expand it a little bit if I want it to cover a little bit of a larger area. And then once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm going to go ahead and save the edits, save the change one more time. And then you can see that that is now applied to my cover photo. Now, just a tip here, and you already can kind of see it, it is condensed. In the trip builder, it's going to crop that a little bit so that you can focus in on adding content. But don't worry, at the very end, when we preview this information, we're going to see that that cover photo looks the way that we just tailored it to look. So we added in our cover image. The next thing that we're going to do is now add in information to our settings of the trip. So that's going to be right here in the top left-hand side. And when we open this window, it's going to be where we see a lot of the general information for this trip, like our trip title, this date, price point, and description. So we're going to go ahead and start filling out some of these fields. Right. And then once we've added in our title, I'm actually going to skip the date of this for right now, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So we're going to come down here to our price field and add in that. Now, you do not have to add it to this field here. There's many areas of where you can add pricing details to your proposals and itineraries, but I do want to just show you that if you enter it into this field, where that will display for your traveler. And you'll also notice to the right that there is an area where you can select if this is the price per person or if it's the price per total. And then finally, you can see here we have our description field. And there is a lot of things that you can add in here, such as the breakdown of pricing, additional options that they could have, such as insurance, add-on days, or just even an overview of the trip. So you can get really creative of what is in this field. But I just like to note that this will present at the very top of your trip for your traveler when they're viewing it. So it could be really important information that you want them to know because it's going to list right at the top for them. Now, further down in the settings, there's a lot of functions that you can enable and disable based on your preferences, but we're going to just focus on these top fields for the time being. So the reason that I didn't want to set the start date just now is because I'm going to show you how you can use the different days as different sections so that you can list a lot of options for your travelers. And when you add in a date, it obviously applies the days, but if you're listing different options, it could confuse your travelers about, oh, why do I have 3 resort options? There's on like different days. So this kind of helps give them the ability to see those options very clearly. So let's go ahead. We're going to save these changes for right now. And you can already see that information loading in. We're going to come over here to the left and we're going to start adding in our different days. And then to give these days, or we're going to consider them sections right now, we're going to change their titles so that our travelers can clearly see the different options being listed. So in day 1, we're going to come in here and you're going to see highlighted. That's where I can click in to change the title of this day. Now, it's also going to show you where you can add the date. Don't do that if you don't want to list those dates out because that will just add it for the whole trip. We're going to come down to day title instead. And we're going to go ahead and list out resort options for this section. Then, of course, we're going to click done, and we're going to go ahead and just go to those other days or sections that we have listed in here and add the other areas or options that we're going to include. And the last one here. If I can type today, right, guys? All right, so we've added in all of those different sections. So what I like to point out as well is when you've created these different options, it's also a great way to create some templates for your trips so that you can reuse these in the future. You would be able to just make a quick copy. And then of course, each trip you can add in the specific information. So just a kind of quick trick and tip that you can add in there. But now what I'm going to do first is we're going to add in some resort options for this proposal. So first, I'm going to add one in manually and how you can add that information really quick and easily and present a really great option for your traveler to consider. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you are in the right section of the trip. So we have these different options over here. We are currently selected in the right one, which is your resort options. You are going to come over here to new event. And then in that dropdown, you are going to come down to lodging. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the resort that I'm looking for in our search field here. Now, if it comes up here, we can go ahead, scroll down, find the one we're looking for, and then select that. Since this is just an option, we're not having them check in and check out. We're going to leave this field blank here, and then we're going to add it to our itinerary. Now, to edit any of the events in your proposals and itineraries, what you'll be able to do is you're going to click on the pencil icon, which will be on the right side of that event, and that is going to open up your window here. Now, what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to come right up to the title of this event, and I am going to actually remove this out because since we're listing options, I want it to be very clear. And again, checking in isn't really relevant at this point in the building process. So we're going to list option number 1. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I really want to give a description about this resort so that my traveler knows this option, what it has to offer for them, and just can be as descriptive and as in-depth as I would like it to be. Now, this is also your opportunity to really showcase your expertise. So you can list things like great night entertainment, different activities for the kids, the family, and also just list a lot of things that make this resort option special. So that way your traveler can really compare and contrast to the other options you're listing. But on my side, I have drafted up a little description here for this particular resort. So I'm going to just save you some typing sounds and copy this right in here. I'm also going to add a price point just so again, so that my traveler can compare for price options. And I'm going to add a currency over here. And then I also want to really showcase the fun visuals of this resort and add some images in. So to do that, you're going to come down here where it says multimedia, and you can add up to 5 images or videos to this field to really give them a feel of what this resort has. So we did the search already. I'm going to actually utilize the website function, and I have the URL from this resort's website so that we can see a little bit more from what they have on their area. So give me a second while I'm trying to copy that link. And then we're going to paste it over here into the field. There we go. I'm going to click Get Images. And then it might take a moment while it's loading, while those images, depending on how many are on that site. But then once that has all pulled up here, I can go through, look at them all, and then select which ones I want to apply to this event. So we'll go ahead, pick some, again, really pretty photos that we have from this website here. And then I'm going to go ahead, a different one there. We'll save our changes. So we have those images applied. So now we have a very in-depth event that lists all of the things for this option. Now, one important feature that I do want to highlight here before I close out and save these changes is that utilizing the library is a huge time saver. So you're going to be able to create content like this and save it back to your library for future trips and future use. So you typically will be working with 3 to 5 destinations 90% of the time. So adding the most used items to your library can be a really big time saver for you to do in your workflow process. So how do we save to the library? We're going to scroll all the way to the very bottom of this event. And where you're going to see the Done button, right beside it is a button that has 3 little dots on it. And if we select that, we're going to see the second option there is to save to our library. So when we select that, it's going to first prompt us to add on a label. And we really encourage you to add up to, 2, 3, as many as you would really need, just so that you can keep your library as organized as possible. And when you're searching for different events, you can do it in a quick and easy way. So let's go ahead here. Since this resort is in Greece, we see that I have actually created several labels here. So we're going to apply this one. Maybe apply a few more depending on how organized I would like to be. We'll just add one more there. And then I'm going to save to my library. Now that I've saved it back there, I can go ahead and click Done. And now we have option number 1 listed. So I'm also going to show you, since I have saved another resort option to my library already, how you can then utilize your library to add more options to your trip. So what you'll want to do is over here on the right side of the trip builder is where you're going to see this tab, Your Items. So right below that is where you can search through all of your library events that you have created. So I am going to search for that resort. And then even just starting with a few of the first part of that title, it will pull that up for me. So what I can do is I'm actually going to just search that first. It's going to list there for me. And then if I want to add this event to my trip, I'm going to be able to either drag and drop it over, or I can use this plus symbol right here on the right side, and that will do the same action and add it to this part of the trip. So I'm going to go ahead, click that. I'm going to scroll down here, and you can see that this event is now just, again, as thoroughly description there. We have some images and we also have a price point. The only thing that I want to change for this event, though, is I'm going to adjust the title so that it matches that first option. So we're going to go ahead and click Edit. We're going to remove this whole title here and just put in option number 2. And then we're going to go ahead and click Done. So we've added some resort options. Now let's go ahead and let's add activities for this trip. So again, we're going to make sure we're in the right section and drop down to tours and activity options here. And we're going to go ahead and first add in a excursion option by clicking the new event, going to activity, and then kind of doing some repeat steps here. But we're going to type in that title. So again, I'm feeling very, Mediterranean. I want to feel like I'm going to the beach. So let's do a catamaran excursion. Great. So once we've added that title, then same thing, I'm going to add a little bit of a description that I had pre-saved here, letting them know what they're going to be doing on this particular activity. If I scroll down even further, I'm also going to add in a time of when they would be departing, as well as the time frame of how long this excursion would be so that they can fit it into their schedule. So we can click down here where it says add time and price. We're going to go ahead, add that time in. And then we can also decide how long or of a duration this will be, or maybe if that's already preset, we can add that in. Great. And then also we need to add in images as well. So I'm going to go ahead here and use our website function. Come back into the multimedia area and go to the website tab, paste that in. Then give it a little minute to load up. Awesome. So a lot of really great images. So I'm going to, again, choose those 5 that I want to include on the event. And then save my changes. And then I'm going to click done. So we now have that activity in there. And I'm also going to use the library one more time so that we can get another activity in here for them to choose from, see if they want to add that to their trip. So what I'm going to do here is use the ability to search via label. So again, that if I forget the whole title of that activity, or if I just know that it's about a certain destination, I can search by those labels to pull them up. So I'm going to go here, type in resort activity for Greece, select that label there, and then I can see those different options that I have created and saved with that label. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to share the massage with them, have that as an option they can consider. So I'm going to drag and drop this over. And again, you can see that green box highlight here means I am all set to drop that in. So again, a really detailed activity that we have listed so that they can consider that to add to their trip. So we have the activities, we have the resorts. Next part of we're going to add is the travel and the transport. So this is, of course, since we're listing out options, they may not know yet the dates or, where their flights might be coming from, where their transportation will be going. So this is a really great place to just add the general information. And then once the traveler has approved their trip, we can, of course, add the specific details. So I'm going to come over here, click into the travel and transportation. And I, again, have saved a lot of this content. So again, I know it sounds like a little bit of a repeat, but dragging and dropping is just saving me a lot of time of building this out. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a private transfer for them. We're going to try that one more time. Okay, so you can see here that this private transfer is a little bit of a template that I can have added in here. So that way, whenever we get more information about where they're going to, where they're coming from, then I can add more of the contact details in here and also just where their destination, where their arrival is going to be. The last thing for transportation that I am going to include is their flight details. So I'm going to type in flight. And again, you might be thinking, well, they don't know what their flights are just yet. So what could you add in for here? This is just letting them know that their flights are included, that they will have this information at the very final of their itinerary. All right, we're going to search flights here. There we go. So again, something like this is just an example. You can kind of use whatever works best for you, but just about where they're going. And again, for Crete, since they don't have their flights just yet, kind of gives them some of the airports that are on Crete so that they might be flying into. And then of course, once we get their flight information, we'll be able to add that in. So the last thing that I want to add to this proposal is some destination information for my traveler so they can get excited about where they're going to and maybe get some ideas about the things that they want to check out while they're visiting. So we have been searching through our library items. What we're going to do next is right beside it, which is city guides. So I'm going to click on the city guides tab here. And this is a great way to utilize pre-created content that we have in our system. So all that you need to do is search through our database and look for those different city guides that we have, which are over 640 current destinations worldwide. And we're always looking to build on that library as well. So again, a really great tool to help spice up a proposal and an itinerary. And all that we need to do right now is search for a city guide that we're looking for. And if we have that city guide, it will list here in that dropdown. So I'm going to click on Crete. And all of these different purple city guides that we see are different areas of interest that travelers will visit while they are in Crete. So again, a lot of great ideas in there to include. And to add this in, I'm actually going to come up to the information and documents section of this trip. Because this is kind of general information, it doesn't have to be specific to a certain day or any of those option areas that we have. So once we go into information and documents, I am going to scroll through here. We're going to go ahead, let's say we'll add the do and see section. And the same, adding method works here, either dragging and dropping this over, or you can use that little plus symbol to add it to the trip. Now with city guides, these can be pretty big depending on what their subject matter is, but you will typically see that there is a description about what that city guide covers. And then as we scroll down, lots and lots of different options here. We'll go ahead, maybe add one more. So let's do some dining, because who wouldn't want to eat in Crete? Now, just like we did with our library items, for this, you are going to be also able to edit the city guides so that if you want to include more information, if you want to remove some information out, you can do that by just, of course, clicking the edit icon and, of course, adding in more details, or in some cases, if they are very large city guides, like this one's pretty bulky, you can actually remove these attachments out so that it's a little bit more minimal. Maybe you know specifically what areas of interest your traveler has, and maybe they've even mentioned, hey, I really want to check this out. So leaving certain information or removing some out is helpful. Or if you keep scrolling down here past all of these purple city guides, you are going to see that these events that are all listed will actually be individually so that you can add those in instead of having one large city guide. So now we have our destination information here. We have our resort options, our travel options, our tour and activity as well. So now I'm going to show you, once you have completed adding in all of the information for the proposal, what happens when you send this off and what happens when your traveler approves the proposal. So all of that is going to be in the top right-hand side, right up here, where we can see the preview and then also to send. So sending it, you're going to click on that button there. And you're going to have the option to either send it via trip link or being able to send it via the email invite. So whichever option, you'll be able to go ahead, share that proposal over with them. Now, I do encourage that throughout the trip creation process that you preview your trip, just because this allows you to see the trip from your traveler's perspective, and you're able to see if there's anything that needs to be edited, if anything, is misspelled, misentered correctly, so that way you're on top of things before it's actually shared out to them. So in this case, we're going to preview the trip, and this is also allowing us to see how they can interact specifically through the approval process. So right here at the top, we'll see that approve proposal button. But really quick, while we're here in preview, I'm just going to scroll down because this, again, is showing you how the traveler would be able to view their trip, how they're going to be able to interact with it, view the images. Now, if you have a very large trip or a proposal, what you're going to be able to do to save yourself time is right over here on the left side, you can click in and out of the different sections so that if you're working on something specific, you can drop down really quick to that area, view that information. But for right now, we're going to go back up to the top here. And we're going to go ahead through the approval process that the client would do if they're ready to approve their proposal. So right here at the top button, we're going to click that approve button. What they're going to see is some of their trip details, like the title and the price points, and if there were dates listed. They're going to be able to fill out their name and their email address here. And then they're going to be able to click approve when they're ready to confirm. And then once that has approved, what will happen is they're going to see this congratulations screen, and they're going to receive an email with an electronic PDF of all of those trip details. You will also, as their advisor, receive that electronic PDF so that you both will have a copy of exactly everything that was on that proposal. Also at this point, once they get that congratulations screen, this approval has then automatically been changed over to an itinerary. So you don't have to do anything further. The system does it all for you. And we're going to click out of this congratulations screen here. We can see that that option is no longer there. And then we're going to switch back over to our trip. So now that it's an itinerary, we're going to make some details here or add some details in so that it's specific to their travel arrangements. Some of these other options don't need to be there anymore. So we're going to remove bits and pieces out so that, again, it's as detailed for their trip as possible. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back into the settings right over here. And we're going to come down to the start date so we can add their dates in. We're going to go out a couple weeks from here, select that start date, and then save those changes. And you can see here that once we've added that first date, it just automatically fills the rest of those dates in as well. So we're going to come into resort options first. And we're going to remove one of those options out because they've decided on one of them and they don't need to see the other one in there anymore. So we're going to go ahead here. We're going to remove option number 1. We're going to come all the way to the very bottom of this event, and we're going to delete that out. We're also going to go into the very title of this section or this day now, and we're going to remove that and then save that change. And what you'll see here now is that once we've removed out the title that we've put in, it's going to resort back to the day of the week that it is or that date is on. We're also going to go here into options or to, this event, and we're going to change our title because, again, there's no other option. So it's just this resort. And we're going to go ahead and add in the title of this resort so that they know just exactly what it is. Great. And then it already has this selected automatically, but it is the check-in. Now, I typically will like to also have a check-out event. It can be exactly the same duplicate of this since it is the same resort that they're checking out from. So to make it easy, if you scroll all the way to the very bottom of this event, right beside the done button, you're going to click on that 3-dotted button and select duplicate, which will make an exact copy of this resort. We can then also remove copy when you make a copy, just because probably don't want that in the title. And then I'm going to actually change that copy to a checkout. Then I'm going to click done. And I'm going to move the second one that is a checkout event down to the very last day of this trip. So I'm also, while I'm in here, going to expand this trip out just a little bit further. So we have 3 days currently. I'm going to add 2 more in here. Going to change this to the 5th. There we go. And then, like I said, we're going to move this resort down to the very last day. Great. So we're going to go into the second options that we had listed. We're going to kind of do some repeat there, and we're going to remove out the tour and activity. We're also going to move around some of these activities that we had listed. And let's just say that they want to go with both. They loved both of those excursion options. So we're going to leave the catamaran excursion in there, and we're going to move the massage down to the 4th. Now, when you want to move these different events to different days, you can see here, very similar to what we saw when we were adding library events in, that I can drag and drop them into the days, and it will highlight as green, letting me know that I'm all set to drop that event into that particular day. Okay. I think I dropped it into the wrong one. So we're going to go ahead here. There we go. And then what we're going to do next is come down to travel and transportation. Since we had our transfer, and then we also had for our flight details. So again, we can of course add in all of that information that is specific to who's picking them up. I am actually going to add in another transfer here. So we're going to just delete this guy out. I'm going to go back to my library. Search for that one. Here we go. So we have that transfer in there, and since they're going to and from the airport twice, I am also going to make a duplicate of that. So we're going to go into that, make the same thing that we did with the resort, make a duplicate, make sure we remove the copy out. And then move that to the correct days. And we're also going to need to move the other transfer to the very first day since they're traveling in. And then we, of course, have the flights. So we get to add those in too. We won't need this flight detail anymore since it's just the general information. So we're going to click in and just delete this event entirely out. We're also going to remove that travel and transportation title, save those changes. We're then going to go into the first and the last days of the trip and add in their arriving and departing flights. So when you're adding flights, same kind of steps that we've been doing, we're going to go to the new event. And we're going to come over to flight. And there are several different ways of how you can add flight information in, but we're going to use our automatic search in this example. So all that you're needing to do is going to search the airline as well as the flight number. So I'm going to go ahead here, find that airline, and then type in that flight that I'm looking for. Click Get Info. And what it does before I add this to the trip is it's going to list, of course, the information I typed in, but also the airport details and also the date. So I can make sure that this is the correct flight before I add it into the trip. And then when I'm ready, I can click Add to the itinerary. And what it will do is actually create 2 different events, an arrival and then also the departure. Now, we just typed in the airline and the flight number, but you can see it created quite a bit more information for me. It's included the airport. It also has the time zone. And in some cases, it will list things like the terminal. What's also great with adding flights this way is that there is updates that are coming in from the supplier as well. So you can see here, right by the time zone, there is the green check mark. And if I hover that over that, it's going to say receiving updates for this flight, which just lets me know that if there is any type of changes like time or gate changes, that these flights will be updated at least once a week. And when flights are departing 24 hours or less, those flight updates become automatic. So it's a great way for you and your traveler to have that information be updated on the flight details. So we added in the arriving flights for their trip. We're going to go ahead, finish it off with the departing flights as well. So again, some repeat steps here, but going into the new event, adding in the flights. Clicking Get Info, and then we're going to add those flights into this trip. So now we have all of our information added in. So we already kind of showed how to share the proposal when we wanted the approval. But I encourage that since we've turned it into an itinerary and updated everything with the specific details, that if you want to, you can still share the trip again. Now, when we made any of these changes, when we were moving all of the events around, when we were, adding in details, those will all be automatically updated on the traveler's end. So if they clicked to view their trip from when they had it as a proposal, they'll still be able to see all of those changes. So once you've made a change in here, they will be able to see that on their side as well. The reason why you might want to reshare it via email is because they will be able to now view this itinerary via the Trip Plans app. So when you send it via email, again, we'll kind of walk through this process. You'll click on the send button, click on that email option. You'll be able to add in their email address. And what's nice is it will automatically CC you to that email so that you can see the exact copy of what they have received. And then you can also include any kind of customized message. Then when they receive this email for the itinerary, there will be a button in that email that prompts them to go to view the Trip Plans app so that they can save their trip information to that app and view it on their mobile device. So with that being said, I also want to show you what an itinerary looks like on the Trip Plans app, just to give you a sense of how your traveler would be able to interact. So we're going to go ahead here. I'm going to be switching tabs, so bear with me while we're doing that. So hopefully what you see up in front of you here is our web demo of the Trip Plans app. And I'm going to be able to show just some inner functionality of how you can, or how your traveler will be able to, go through this and view all of the information on that itinerary. So of course, here we are looking right at the itinerary, a little bit of a different one than we just created. Up here in the right-hand corner is a really great way for you to stay connected with your traveler throughout their trip, be able to communicate with them, answer their questions as they come up. So you can see here, we can view the trip conversation that's going on here. Just again, it could be during their trip, but it could also be leading up to the trip and post-trip, getting feedback in that way. Just again, a great way to stay connected and keep that communication channel open with your traveler. We're going to go back into their trip though. So as you can see, they can scroll through their app. They can look into their city guide information here. Remember, we added that to the information and documents section of the trip. So if we click in there, we can scroll down. They can see all of that destination information that you've added in through them. Look at all of that detail there, see the images, click into everything. And then they're also going to be able to go into the individual days and view those events as well. So we can go ahead, click in here to Friday, see all of their transportation information. If we scroll down even further, we can see just all of the transfer details as well. And again, the last thing we see is the hotel. So if we wanted to click into that information for them, just so they know where that destination is, they have all of that right at their fingertips, right in their app. So that concludes our all-inclusive webinar. Hopefully there are some tips and tricks that you're able to take away, apply to your own work process when creating proposals, and then also just how to reshare when it's an itinerary and being able to customize that and adding those details in. But we want to make sure that we also answer any questions that might have come up during the session. So Bonnie, I know you've been keeping an eye on everything in there, so I'm ready for them.
All right, great. And yeah, like you said, Kendra, I hope everyone was able to take a lot of stuff that you were talking about and able to integrate it into their work. We have a lot of great questions. And again, hopefully we were able to get to you. But of course, if we missed any, feel free to always email us at professional@travefy.com. But to go over some that I had grabbed, this is the biggest one I think that I've seen throughout the chat. So if we have multiple options, kind of like how you had it with the proposal, what are some of the ways that we can know which option a client goes with? I have a few in mind, but I'm sure you are already on track with where I'm going with it.
No, this is a great question. We get it a lot. It's like I said, really good question. So the first thing is that there's different ways depending on how you want to set those up, because you're right. If there are multiple options in here and they do go ahead and approve the proposal, it can be very hard to determine what option did they actually approve. So one way that you can list that out is you can create a form in Travefy, and you can actually list that form or hyperlink to that form in your description section of the settings. So you could go ahead here and you could list something like, please, decide what options you want to go with, fill out this form, and you can then have them designate which option, depending on how many options you have in there, and list those all in the form. That is one way. Now, what also some people will do is they will start with an itinerary first, then they'll have all their options listed out there. And then once they've completed or they have the traveler let them know what options they want to move forward with, they can then change it to a proposal, send that over to them so that they can approve it officially, give that approval there, and then it will automatically be changed back to an itinerary. So it does depend on the work process of different advisors and where they're starting from. And that's just a couple of suggestions. Bonnie, though, if you have any others that I didn't touch on there, feel free to throw those in too.
Yeah. And while I answer that one, first of all, that's a really common thing that we see with advisors, especially when we're on trainings, which is a great method to use. Otherwise, I'm going to put in our chat a article about how if you use forms, how you can actually attach them to your trip. And it just kind of goes more in depth. And it's just another option that you can explore and really see what works best for you. So let me try and find that. But another question while I do that is, can you quick show us, I know you showed us the app, how can we generate a PDF? And what does that
Yes.
look like?
Absolutely. So I'm going to come up here, and how you generate that is going to be right by your preview and send buttons that we had just touched on earlier in the session. So that PDF, if we click on that here, what you should be seeing is actually different things that you can select or unselect depending on your preferences. So these PDFs can be very large. I will just throw that out there. So be careful whenever you're selecting expanded, because it does get rather large. But if you or your traveler wants all the information, go for it. Otherwise, you can, again, customize what those PDFs look like. And then when you're ready, you are going to be able to go ahead and create the PDF and then also save this to your device. So this trip here, give it a minute because it's, again, just processing all the information on it. You can click to download. And then here, again, hopefully everything's transitioning on my screen, what you guys can see on your end. But then you can look through, and this is what the PDF looks like. Again, you can drop down, jump into those different pages of the PDF, see all of that information listed out here. And what's great is we talked about the app. We talked about the web view of this proposal and itinerary, but we also see here that you can then print these PDFs out. So if you have travelers that are not old school, because I like this too, but you can save this to or print this out, excuse me, so that they have a hard copy of this proposal and itinerary, so that they have all of their bases covered. They're able to view it in whatever way they feel most comfortable with.
Perfect. Yeah. And honestly, again, it really depends on the client, the situation that you're in, on whether you create a PDF or send a link or send it via email. But awesome. I will say, ready for the next question, Kendra?
Ready. Send it my way.
With this one, this is one that I thought we might want to bring up just because we talk about place attachments and, really making it feel custom. This is an all-inclusive. So we really want to make it pretty, if you will. Can you edit place attachments?
Yes, you can.
Put in contact information, swap out any photos.
Yes. So we saw here that I had attached several different resorts or activities that had those places listed in them. So you're right. There might be some things that are imported in or you've added that you want to customize or change. That's absolutely fine. So we're going to go back to our edit option here. Go all the way down. And when you hover over these places, you're going to see where you can click on view. I'm clicking view here, and I might just be a little too maximized. So bear with me, everybody. I'm going to just minimize my screen here so that we can make this a little bit more viewable. All right, there we go. Okay, we're going to expand it back again. But like I said, we're going to click on view. And that should be opening up here for me.
Good old technical
I know,
difficulties,
guys,
especially when all of
when
you guys are with us.
So maybe we're pretty minimized here. So I don't think that's the case, but we're going to just do a little bit more. It could be just, again, maybe it's shy here, but we're going to click view. What should be happening here on my screen? I apologize if it's not opening up for us, but what will happen is over on the right, basically where the library function is, there will be where you can edit all of that information there. So if you want to change the image of what this this is, you can. If you want to change the email link or maybe remove the email link, you can do that too. So that is something that can be customized. And again, I apologize that it's not coming up for us in this moment, but if you have any questions on where to go for that, how to edit those things, how to save the changes once you've implemented them in, please just let our team know. We'll do a little bit of a better job of showing that and showing and pointing where that is in your account too.
Perfect. Yes. And I know sometimes our accounts just like to play around with us, especially when we
do.
have
They
all
do.
of our 400 plus closest friends together. But
Yes.
I do have another one for you. And this is actually going to be outside of the trip. But
Okay.
when you were going before, you were saving some things to your library. Sometimes things change and we need to delete some things from the library. Can you just show us how we can delete some of those items?
Yes. So deleting library items, especially when you're cleaning up. I know that when I was first starting with my Travefy account, I was saving lots and lots of stuff, which later on I realized, okay, probably don't need this anymore. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to jump out of the trip builder and we're going to go into our library or our event library specifically. So this is right up here. And now that I've minimized, it's very hard to see. So I apologize. But if you can see at the top of your navigation bar, you are going to see right next to the trips tab should be the library tab. So if you click into there, this is where you're going to be able to edit or remove any of those library events that you've saved. So let's say here that we no longer want the flight details for Crete. Maybe this is outdated. So if we want to delete it out, all that we need to do is right beside the done button, there's going to be share, and then there's going to be a 3-dotted button right beside that. When I click on it, there's going to be an option for me to either copy or delete. So in this case, I can delete it out and it will confirm, hey, do you actually want to do this? I do. But what's nice is if I didn't mean to do that, if it was an accident that I hit delete, it does give me a countdown, which you should be able to see as a little banner up there. And it gives me a little bit of time to undo that. So if I need to, I can save my changes and I can remove that delete option from happening. Or like I just did, I can let it time out. Also, though, if you are looking to delete a lot of things out of your library, you can also click the edit function right up here. And when you select that, you can actually go ahead and do multi-select through here, which is really nice. So I'm going to just select several different options here. And then you're going to see the little trash can icon up at the very top. So whenever you're ready to delete, you'll click on that. Same thing, the countdown will appear. You can undo those changes or you can let it time out, and then you'll be able to have a little bit of a cleaner library.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, I know we kind of moved you over to the library and we could talk all day about the
This
library.
could open
as
up a lot of
well.
doors too.
But great. Awesome. I do have a question that Stephanie actually saw quite a bit as well. And can you go back to your trip and
Yes.
show us how we could possibly have a table and maybe show different room prices, room types?
Yes,
Just utilizing
absolutely.
that feature.
Yes, no, it is a great
Awesome.
function. So we're going to jump back into that trip here. And I hope everybody can see this too. This is just another tip and trick. But if you want to continue working on an existing trip, all of those actions are going to be right at the very top of your trip here where you see edits. So we're going to click into there. And let's see, what's a good option for us? Might be just resort for right now, but whatever event that you want to add a table to, you can come in and again, click edit. Now, we already have a lot of information already added into the notes section, but we're going to just go to the very bottom. Let's say we want to add some like different types of room price comparison. So up at the very top where all the functions for the text are, so your italicized, your bold, over here closer to the right side is going to be where you can insert a table. So you can build these tables custom to how many sections of that table you need to have. So if I click on it, you're going to see here, and I know it's very faint, I apologize, but you can see that you can see if, oh, we want 3 across, do we want how many deep? So it could be as large of a table really as you would like it to be. I'm going to go ahead here and let's just do 3 and 3 just to keep it simple. And I apologize, it is so late. Everybody bear with me. I'm just minimizing for a second because I know my eyesight's getting bad. So it's just,
I
There
know
we
it
go.
is a light gray when you're
There you go. It's
editing.
faint. Hopefully this is a little bit bolder for everybody though. So what you can do then is go into each table and then, let's say balcony view, beach view, just room types. Let's just use that as our example, etc. So you can go through these. And what's nice is you can also see kind of make some adjustments here too, so that if you need to expand it, if you need to align things a little bit, and again, you can still do all of the same functions that we had for the rest of the text. You can highlight, you can bolden, all of that good stuff as well. So we can add in our price points. Let's just say we're going to add some different details here. Add our last option. Oh. So again, just a quick glance of what you can draft up really quick. I know a lot of people probably have better ideas of how to build out those different tables, but it can be something very quick and easy that you can add to a resort option just to show them, hey, this is maybe the different things that you could consider, maybe the different price points. So if they're playing around with different ideas there, you can list that very easily in just a single option.
Perfect. No, it looks great. And honestly, too, it just provides some nice variety to a itinerary or proposal that can be really lengthy. It can draw the eye, make sure clients are actually reading what you put in there, which I know is always an obstacle, but awesome. And it looks like we have time for just one more quick question. And I know too, there are going to be a few that we don't get. So I'm so sorry about that. But last one, and this has actually been super helpful. And I think we started seeing it in our Facebook group page that people are starting to do this.
Great.
You show us how to add a link, like an affiliate link to our proposal. And where would you put that?
So affiliate link, just to clarify, like a hyperlink that we want to link out to. Yes. Okay. So what we can do here, we can just stay in this. Now, again, you could list that in the description section. We could list it here. I actually have an example right there. But what you would be able to do is first, you're going to just highlight whatever text it is. Or if you simply want to just paste that link, and I'm going to just quickly go out here and just show this in real time, getting a link on my side. But what you would just do is, in this case, we highlight here. So let's just say we want to link out to this resort. I'm going to copy the resort link over here on my side behind the scenes. And then right up here at the very top of the text editing functions is where we can go ahead, click on that URL link option. And then we're going to paste in that link. And then whenever we're ready, we can click update. And that is then going to apply that hyperlink for us. Now, I'm also going to show you, I know it looks about the same that we just did because that's how it was originally. But if I click done editing, and I'm going to go to preview really quick. So we're going to, and Bonnie, just making sure we can see the preview, correct?
Yep, I can still see
perfect.
that. Just
just making sure. All right, so awesome. So now we're here previewing it. If the client goes ahead, selects that option.
Now I can't. Oh, never mind. I was just too impatient.
And look, they're having a deal. Great. But this is the resort site that it took us to. So this is just an example. And I think I clicked on the tab that had all of the pricing. So I'm going to back to their home. And then we're going to click out of here. This can just link out. Now, again, I did the resort. You do not have to, but it could be to any other source that you want. It could be, like Bonnie mentioned, an affiliate link for yourself. Maybe you have your own website that you want to link out to. You could have a link to a form, but that's how you would be able to quick and easily add in a hyperlink to the notes section. And again, we see a lot of people do this also in the settings of the trip too, right down here, the description. You would be able to add that hyperlink in, link out to whatever source you needed to. Hopefully that answered the question, Bonnie, but if not, please migrate me back to help answer it a little bit better.
No, that did the trick. The really important thing there is just making sure you use that link button like Kendra showed, which looks kind of like a chain link or a infinity band, whatever you think that looks
Yes.
like. But yeah, that's the one that you're going to want to use for hyperlinking. Of course, if you get done with this webinar, we did go through a lot. So thank you, Kendra. But if
Of
your
course.
brain just needs a little bit of a rest, you need to come back to this later and then you forgot, just reach out to us. We are always here to help. But yes, chain link. That's the word I was looking
Chain
for.
link. Yep. I was like, I'm struggling with whatever
I was
emoji or
like,
icon that is, but chain link works.
yep, but awesome. Thank you again, Kendra. And
Of
thank you
course.
everyone for taking time out of your day, your week, and hope to see you again.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and hope to see you at the rest of training camp.